Hello, I'm Charlie Brooker, and you're watching Weekly Wipe, a programme all about things that are happening. Things like this. Former Israeli PM Ariel Sharon finally left the coma he'd been controversially occupying since 2006. Disquieting scenes as the most depressing celebrity reality show in history begins. There's no public vote, so they'll be hoping to impress the judges. There's been outrage in France as a Frenchman's been accused of having an affair. He's also rumoured to enjoy soft cheese and shrugging.
Sky News becomes an eerie art gallery following revelations MPs have spent £250,000 on weird-looking portraits.
Hanging's too good for them. But we start with television. And I don't know if you've seen it, but Channel 4 has recently launched a sort of British remake of The Wire.
Benefit Street is a fly-on-the-fly covered wall documentary series, a bit like Sesame Street, brought to you by the letters DSS and DWP. It follows some of the residents on an apparently notorious Birmingham street where, we're told, most of the residents are on benefits.
As well as impoverished single mums, it also depicts petty criminals on the rob. On the one hand, it's a gritty slice-of-life expose, but it's also packaged with a knowing nod and a wink. And it's so full of larger-than-life characters, it almost feels like a sitcom, a bit like Friends, with benefits.
Usually when people on the breadline are exploited for entertainment, it's done unsubtly on grubby bellowing chambers like the Jeremy Kyle show.
You're a drunken bum sponging off taxpayers in this country, and people like you should be put out on the street. You love it? You love it? Yeah. Right, I'll tell you how much you love it.
Whereas Benefit Street is presented more like a sort of safari park tour through poor people's natural environments.
It's even packaged a bit like a nature show, complete with sweeping shots of the landscape so you can see what benefits look like from a balloon. There's also footage of the lovable offspring gambling in the wild, sequences in which predators scavenge for scraps, and the violent majesty of Darwinian survival.
Fuck you wankers! Let go of me! Let the fuck go of me! Let the fuck go of me!
Some have complained the programme depicts lazy ne'er-do-wells living the high life, sponging off the state, and to be fair, the level of luxury they're enjoying is outrageous. I mean, just look, most of them have got shoes. The sense of entitlement is amazing. They use oxygen without even paying for it. They just inhale it and convert it into carbon dioxide, selfishly leaving less for the taxpayer. They've even got sticks and bits of old fan. I haven't got sticks and bits of old fan, why should they? And they're so lazy. They sit around on their asses contributing nothing of value to society, boozing themselves stupid and stuffing their faces with cheap junk food. You wouldn't catch me doing that. In the act of artisan crisps.
Society likes to let off steam by having a set of sanctioned hate figures it's okay to openly deride, a list that changes with the times, and currently benefits claimants are on it.
Channel 4 says Benefit Street is about community spirit in adverse circumstances. But the problem is it's not called Community Spirit in Adverse Circumstances, it's called Benefit Street, a button-pushing title attached to a programme with more buttons than a shirt factory. They might as well have called it The Great British Skive-Off or Layabout Way. To wear my earnest hat for a moment, I actually thought Benefit Street was broadly sympathetic to its participants. Although being a TV show, it also inevitably boiled their lives down to eye-catching highlights and outrageous sound bites. But thanks to that title and the ingrained assumptions of some viewers on both sides of the political divide,
it also caused the sort of noisy publicity-stoking press reaction that must have had Channel 4 wanking with dismay.
The debate came alive on a feisty edition of Newsnight as a man from Channel 4 had to defend himself against accusations of being a poverty porn baron.
Are you comfortable with the idea of poverty porn as an idea?
I'm deeply uncomfortable with that phrase. I think it's inaccurate.
That's true. Benefit Street isn't porn. I mean, what's pornographic about seeing 6 sweaty men crammed into one filthy hole? There's not even any money shots. Well, they haven't got any money.
The ideological lines were drawn, representing the unimpressed left, pious newborn Owen Jones, who said Benefit Street was a damaging distortion of society's most vulnerable.
What we have in this so-called debate about the welfare state is a relentless, almost obsessive hunting down of the most extreme, dysfunctional, unrepresentative people.
But wait, they're adults.
Benefits.
They're adults. Isn't that incredibly patronising?
No, it isn't patronising. I'll tell you why it's not patronising, Kirsty.
No, sorry, that's far too patronising. Owen, you lose 10 points and miss a turn.
Amongst the unsympathetic reactees, opinion-pissing human clickbait Katie Thatcher-Hopkins popped up on This Week to hector the work-shy.
I don't care if it's sunny, I don't care if it's raining. You need to get out of bed and get a job.
Fair enough, I'll have yours. What the f*** is it again? The show's producers, aware of how much shit Hopkins spouts, cannily positioned her in a toilet so she could at least mop up after herself.
I have absolutely no sympathy for anybody on Benefit Street.
Or any street.
They're always looking to blame someone, blame the government, blame landlords, blame anybody but themselves.
Yeah, and who pays for that blame? We do.
These are people that are sponging off the state when they could be out working, even if it means doing a job you simply don't want to do.
Quite right, they're scared of doing the kind of tough minimum wage job you're pretending to do here. Hard Nut Hopkins disapproves of ignorant scumbags living off money siphoned from hard-working folk, which is why she refused to accept her BBC appearance fee, possibly. And she used it as a springboard to call for further cuts.
The Conservatives are right to suggest cutting housing benefit for the under-25s. We just can't allow young people to choose to have a nice life paid for by somebody else.
Yeah, that's why I refuse to buy my child clothes or food. F him.
There was this sort of anger-making programme called Benefit Street. Like, it gave you a fascinating insight into the lives of these people who have got next to nothing, so you could judge them.
They weren't claiming benefits like an MP claims benefits or Prince Charles, but a different sort of benefits that they weren't entitled to because they were poor.
Unemployed.
Normally, when you see poor people, it's hard to judge them because you feel sort of empathy and you think, oh dear, I hope humankind does something to help them. But this was clever because it stopped you feeling like that.
When I was watching it, I felt sort of pity for the people in it. But when I went on Twitter, everyone was angry with them. So I thought, oh, I've got it wrong. I better join in with that. So then I wrote these little tweet things about how they were scum and bastards and how I hope the government fucking shoots them and then stands over their bodies pumping bullet after bullet into their benefit scum bastard bodies. And I got like 20 new followers for that. So it was a pretty good programme, yeah. People say there's no community anymore, but watching that interesting show and joining in with everyone on the internet, hating them together, sort of outdoing each other to express how much hate you felt was amazing. I don't think I've ever felt so much like part of a huge group with all this fun anger surging through us. It really made me feel alive. Can't wait till next week's episode.
Game shows. And BBC One locates a clever way of stretching 45 seconds of action into 45 minutes of entertainment with Reflex, a game show which should have been called Every Second Counts, but can't because Paul Daniels bagsed that some time ago. It's a programme with Shane Ritchie in which every second seems to last an eternity. Or in other words, it's a programme with Shane Ritchie. Standing in the middle of the movie Tron, Shane and some plucky members of the public compete in a series of high-speed physical trials filmed with state-of-the-art slow-mo cameras, which are then replayed using every sodding FX filter they could find in post-production. The tasks they have to do may look unspectacular, but when they slow them down by a factor of 1,000, they're boring too. Tragically, even when you fast-forward it, you can't tell you fast-forwarded it. The whole thing culminates in a stunning finale in which a man in a crash helmet tries to avoid some basketballs slowly. It's enough to provoke some well-deserved applause.
America has got a fearsome reputation for violence, doesn't it? Well, yes, it does. But is it well-deserved? Well, one person who thinks it isn't is US comedian and shambles Doug Stanhope.
I'm Doug Stanhope, and that's why I drink.
America has a reputation for violence that we don't really live up to in real life. Of course, there's a lot of gun violence, and some of that's necessary, because guns are the great equalizer.
Guns level the playing field against assholes. You can be the biggest badass biker, MMA, street fighter guy in the world. They put you in a cage with any honey boo-boo with a shotgun. The Vegas odds are gonna alter drastically.
America promotes violence, and we make violent movies, and we exploit the shit out of violent news stories.
ABC's Jim Avila has our coverage of the deadly rampage.
But when it comes to day-to-day street violence that you see, is mostly all shit talk, braggadocio, chest bumping, everyone waiting for the bouncer to come in and break it up. As opposed to in the UK, where you're the most violent people I've ever seen in my life.
Where on any given Tuesday night when the pubs close, it's just like UFC in the streets. You don't know which corner to look at. Just people beating the shit out of each other for no particular reason even. It's not even, did you look at my girl? It's just, where are you from? Across the street? Fuck across the street. There's only one side of the street, yeah, fucking just bashing themselves senseless.
I was in Manchester where I saw a poster, a public service announcement poster on a men's room wall, something to the effect of,
"Don't beat up ambulance drivers." I don't remember the specific text, but that was the gist of it, because evidently that's a thing over there.
I think the difference is, in the United States, we don't have free universal health care, and we do have guns. And that makes you think twice before you take a swing at a guy over a pool game.
I want to hit that guy, but even if I just chipped a tooth, that's like $1,500 to fix. I can't pay for that, and the guy might be packing.
Over there, you have free health care, and you don't have guns. So why not take the risk of beating each other's heads in like knotted gourds? At worst case scenario, the state picks up the tab to fix it.
For the last few years, winter in Britain's been all about snow, snow, snow. But this year's shock January weather has been a different kind of snow. Warm snow, or what scientists call rain.
Yes, recently Britain's fluid intake went through the roof and much of the country was transformed into a sort of shit rip-off of Venice. The problem was water, specifically too much of it coming from overhead. Experts quickly traced the source of the leak to an immense hole above us known as the sky. And the bad weather had been going on for some time. As the news pointed out, the country had just experienced its wettest December since 1993, as had your mum. And according to ITN, this deluge was caused by something called the quasi-biennial oscillation. And one look out the window confirmed it was indeed quasi-biennially oscillating it down. Anyway, in a bid to highlight just how shitty the current climate was, the nation's reporters stood outside like miserable moaning scarecrows.
You've got rain on top of rain on top of rain.
It's sad, really. This is as close as they're going to get to reporting on their very own Watergate.
More heavy rain. And you can see why people here are worried.
The news coverage was more spectacular down Seaside Way as Britain, bloated by Christmas, shed a few unwanted pounds of coastline. The oceanic thrashing was so awe-inspiring, onlookers sounded overwhelmed to the point of boredom.
That's an absolutely awesome sight. Frightening power. You wouldn't want to be in the sea or too close to it.
Yes, reporters weren't the only ones risking life and limb. The public were also out, and so were their cameras.
And in Northern Ireland, a large tidal surge at midday meant this was no time to be taking a seaside snap.
Thing is, while cautionary newspaper front pages and the authorities were warning people to keep away from the water's edge, the news seemed to be almost encouraging viewers to head outside and film the great national waterboarding for them by showcasing their depressing photos and alarming videos. It even started advising people to hold their phones the right way round so the pictures would fit the TV properly.
We want to know what conditions are like where you are. Film your videos or take your pictures in landscape mode.
Yes, for far too long, selfish idiots have been filming catastrophes and tragedies in portrait mode, which looks awful on the news. If you witness a killing, for God's sake, do the right thing and turn your phone sideways before hitting record, or you're actually 10 times worse than the murderer. Of course, those showy Americans always have to go one better, and consequently their extreme weather was extremier than ours. Picturesque US news footage made America look more like the United States of Narnia thanks to something called the polar vortex, which sent temperatures plunging so low the best way to warm up was to stay indoors and climb inside the fridge. Lots of people captured in reports had to virtually mummify themselves to avoid freezing to death, to the point where some reports resembled bulletins from the anarchist news network.
Well, it's just before dawn here in Minneapolis and it's about as cold as it's going to get.
Having delighted viewers with his cheap Batman impersonation, he then performed a sort of David Blaine magic trick using a cup of boiling water.
It freezes before it even reaches the pavement.
Yes, someone had discovered that if you throw a cup of boiling water in the air in super sub-zero conditions, you can make instant snow, and the news didn't tire of demonstrating this, occasionally offering a step-by-step guide.
Put it in the microwave for about 2 or 3 minutes. Make sure it gets really hot.
And encouraging viewers to try it at home.
But a pretty fun experiment. You can do that at home with your kids.
Yeah, it is a fun experiment, isn't it? At least it makes me laugh.
Oh my God, it's burning me!
Serves you right. Next time, landscape mode. Yes, it turns out the downside of repeatedly showing millions of people a trick in which you throw boiling water around is that people might actually try and do it, turning scenes from what should have been a winter wonderland into something more like When Idiots Happen.
Still, it's going to get cold here too, and that's worrying people already, and it's worrying no one more than our resident inquisitive human, Limmy. This is Limmy.
Did you see the news? It's cold out there. Cold? In winter? But seriously, people are dying. Happens every year. They stick up the price of gas and they stick another granny in the ground. But oh, don't blame us fat cats. It's because the world's running out of gas. It's because wholesale prices are up. It's because... But I know it's no. Because I worked it out. It was when I was on the phone to my granny, and she really is freezing her balls off. So I like to chat with her to keep her spirits up. She's got some amazing stories to tell, that woman. She was telling me about lentils. The shop round the corner fair has got a 3 for 2 offer on the go for bags of lentils. And that's when it clicked. 3 for 2. That's it. The more you buy, the lower the price. But the less you buy, the higher the price. And that's what's gone on with the fat cats. I'm still here. I mean, have you not noticed? They only started sticking the price up after we started cutting down, trying to save the planet. What? You think that's just a coincidence? Come on. But they can't come out and say stop saving the planet and we'll save you money. No, this offer's only available for people who can read between the lines. So I turned it up. I turned it all up. And I told my granny to do the same. Full blast. And I jumped on Twitter to tell the world, get it up. We can do this, but we need to do it together. Hashtag full blast. Please retweet. And now I'm telling you to tell your granny, get it up. Get it right up. Let's have ourselves the warmest winter since records began. As for the gas bill, trust me, I think we're in for a big surprise.
Gadgets! A nerd mecca, the Consumer Electronics Show, opens in Las Vegas, the one bit of America too hot to freeze. It's your first chance to guess just which bit of unnecessary microchip bibble might be enslaving us all tomorrow, as various effusive news reports unveiled an exciting vision of a future we should probably be fending off with sticks. One of the biggest trends is for wearable tech, like video glasses that will utterly transform the way you look like a twat.
If 2013 was the year of the smart watch,
which it wasn't,
2014 promises to be the year of the smart glasses.
Yes, supercomputerized video glasses aim to change the way you accidentally molest passers-by forever. The Incredi specs will allow you to do all sorts of astounding things, such as switching lights on and off, just like you can with your real hands. But that's not all. There are also computer-enhanced domestic gadgets that defy sense and description entirely, including one called Mother.
So of all the sensors we've seen so far at CES, this is perhaps the most interesting looking. It's called Mother. Here it is.
Never mind what Mother looks like, who knew Penfold was real? Turns out the oddly named Mother is a horrendous central intelligence agency for the home that keeps tabs on everything in your house, from how you flush the bog to how well you brush your teeth, as it monitors how closely each individual is sticking to their dental hygiene routine.
It's a fun way of teaching your children to brush their teeth instead of just shouting at them.
Yes, according to a series of informative reports, soon absolutely every gadget in your home will be connected to the internet whether you want it to be or not. Why, soon you'll be able to conduct Google searches by entering them orally into your toaster.
How many people died in the 1854 Broad Street cholera epidemic? 616. Wow.
Other innovations include a range of exciting bendable televisions, seen here flaunting their curves. TV screens used to be a bit curved, which was rubbish, so then we made them flat, which was rubbish, so now they're going to be a bit curved again, which is brilliant.
That's bending. That is a bent TV.
So what advantages does a curvy TV have apart from none? Luckily, a CNET tech guru spotted some real pluses in his perky report.
One possible advantage I did spot is that when it's curved, the reflections that you can see on the TV screen are slightly muddled. So if you've got windows in the room that you're watching TV in, that could make those reflections slightly less annoying.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, buy some curtains. Still, no matter what kind of TV you're using, the shows remain the same. This morning on a curvy TV is still just this morning. It still takes 3 hours to watch. If only there was a more efficient way to ingest it. Well, guess what? There is. And Mr. Jake Yapp has condensed this morning down to 97 seconds. As he'll prove to you now. Start the clock.
With the theme tune that in a Pavlovian sort of a way makes you assume you must be ill, welcome to This Morning. I'm Philip Schofield and this is my hot new TV trophy wife, Holly Willoughby. Coming up in the show then, it's a TV nursery for ex-boy band members who've gone to sea but fancy playing at presenters, and a strange sort of TV limbo for the Paul Rosses and Phil Vickeries who never quite managed to attain the escape velocity to get into primetime TV, the whole thing being like some sort of TV career event horizon. Let's find out more about what you've been saying about that with another one of them, Jeff Brazier. Dressed like a page out of GQ, you can smell my aftershave before I come on screen. Very popular with the housewives, I dare say. Let's read out a couple of your tweets with unconvincing sincerity before we throw to the competition with that woman off of Big Brother. Hi, guys. Do you fancy turning up your mortgage for 2 months? And do you lust after insipidly dull material objects like cars and that? Well, give us what's left in your pay as you go, and you could be in with a chance of a hope of a possibility of an unlikelihood. And I'll say good luck, even though it's meaningless since I'm saying it to all of you. Time now for the sad bit. Wendy Pleb's son died or something, and we're condensing her grief and his life down into a neat little 2-minute filler interview ahead of Gino D'Acampo and his double entendre menu. Hello, Holly. Hello, Phil. Today we're doing meatballs with the 6-inch sausages served with a couple of firm buns and the lumbly jumbly coconuts with a handmade salty sauce. We're laughing so hard. Didn't see that one coming. I'm still laughing. We'll see you next time on Fist Morning. Fist Morning!
Music! And for several weeks, the nation's been utterly weirded out by this creepy ad depicting the inevitable future in which scientists start breeding children specifically to perform on talent contests.
OK, that one sings. Drown the others.
It was, of course, promoting BBC One's electrifying crooning party, The Voice, the third mesmeric series of which kicked off this Saturday, presented by a cat and a man and a foursome of sit-and-swivel judges, namely Colonel Sanders, Madge-off neighbours, the protective eyewear must-be-worn symbol, and the crew member who'd get killed in an episode of Star Trek.
It's essentially just a quest to find the forgotten stars of tomorrow as members of the public perform John Lewis cover versions of well-known hits.
She's up all night till the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky.
Pleasant enough, although more interesting was the curious four-way judge-on-judge sing-em-up that started proceedings, an eardrum bothering Howell through I Predict a Riot. Which was an unfortunate choice on the same night a vigil was held in Tottenham while news cameras looked on, apparently hoping it might all kick off.
What with the Duggan verdict and recent plebgate admissions, trust in the police seems to be at a pretty low ebb. Of course, without dem feds, crime would run wild. But what is crime anyway? Well, to explore what it is and who may have put it there, here's our resident expert Philomena Cunk with another of her moments of wonder.
One in 20 people has been a victim of crime, which means that 19 out of 20 people are criminals. No wonder we need police. In the olden days, if someone did something wrong, there was nothing you could do except form a mob with your neighbours and hunt them down and kill them. But today, we've got one other option, thanks to Sir Robert Peel, who in 1829 discovered the police, here on a spot marked today by a ceremonial wind turbine. Once the police had been invented, victims of crime knew who to ask for help because of their special hats, designed to be visible at a distance by people being murdered in the London fog. Police tried to stop crime, but couldn't exist without it. If there was no crime, what would they do? Except spend all day putting addresses on bikes with that hammer. If no one's going to steal those bikes, that's just decorating. Of course, there's no point fighting crime if you don't know what crime is. That's where rules come in. But what is rules? A rules is basically a collection of laws. The first example being the 10 Commandments, which were left on a hill by God. Many of those laws, killing, gravity, and the one about not interfering with oxes, are still used today. even though God's dead. So who decides what's right and what's not right, and works out what the punishment should be and then writes it down? Maybe an expert can help us get to the truth. Hello, who are you and what are you an expert on?
My name is Chris Williams. I'm a senior lecturer at the Open University and I'm an expert on the history of crime, policing and justice.
If a policeman broke the law, would he be able to arrest himself?
I don't think so, no. Under the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, the arresting officer has to sign the prisoner over to the custody officer, and if they were one and the same person, I can't see how that would work. Also, I don't know how the investigator can interview themselves legally under that act, and if the case ever got to court, which I don't think it would, the defendant would be in a position to cross-examine himself. So I think the judge would stop the trial at that point. No, I think is the answer to your question.
When they do reconstructions, you know, on telly, they're dead convincing, aren't they? Have any of them sort of, like, got a bit out of hand and turned back into an actual crime?
Not to my knowledge, no.
It must have happened. Must have.
Probably not. They're relatively highly...
It probably has happened, though.
We'd probably have heard of that if it had happened.
All right, OK. So, if there wasn't police, we'd be able to do what we liked, which is great. But then the police wouldn't be able to do what they liked, which is be the police. And that would be against their human rights. Next time on Moments of Wonder, I'll be finding out how all these little flaws make it easier to get between the big flaws.
Cinema! And in a lushly composed and thought-provoking promo for a satellite film channel, Harrison Ford himself shuffles glumly around asking us relentless questions about the silver screen.
What was the last movie you couldn't stop thinking about?
That'd be Edward Penis Hands. I saw it on VHS like 20 years ago. Still see it every night in here.
When was the last time you saw a movie you really wanted to watch?
Oh, Edward Penis Hands. As soon as I heard that title, I was in.
What was the last movie you just had to tell someone about?
Edward Penis Hands. Seriously, he's got penises for hands.
What's the last movie you saw that sent a shiver down your spine?
Oh, Edward Penis Hands. There's an eerie bit where he has to eat spaghetti with the family, and it's really uncomfortable.
He's disgusting. Now, Susan, be polite.
That was the last movie that really impacted on me.
What will be the next?
That'll probably be Edward Penis Hands too, but that won't be on Sky Movies, so sling your hook, Dr. Jones.
Websites! And a candy-coloured couple mug their way through a garish advert with the accent on irritation.
Find us a hotel somewhere really wild.
Anything for you, cupcake.
But with all the comforts of home.
Anything for you, cupcake.
You know, I'm pretty sure this is the most pitiless, unrelenting attempt to hammer a catchphrase into the public consciousness since Sieg Heil.
In a fashionable area.
Anything for you, cupcake.
It's funny because he's Brummy. I don't think I'll ever tire of him saying that.
Anything for you, cupcake. Anything for you, cupcake. Anything for you, cupcake. Anything for you, cupcake.
That's enough for listening to Yow Fuckface.
Well, that's all we've got time for this week. Till next time, do go away.
And you can see more Weekly Wipe with Charlie Brooker at the same time next week.